Okay, folks, happy Saturday morning. And yeah, we finished up yesterday with the 3 Stewart tanks we're building and the 3 Shermans. So we're going to set these guys off to the side. Hopefully these will go to the paint area soon. So what we got left is what we set off to the side yesterday, which was the remaining thing I picked up on my trip to Canada, which is the M20 armored car. And probably a really very similar build to the M8. Only thing really is going to be different is the superstructure here. And the mount here for the ring, which doesn't look like it. There it is. There it is. That's how it goes. Sometimes the fit and finish on these things isn't wonderful. It is so much easier to work with plastic than it is with white metal. And not only is it easier to glue, you have more glues at your disposal that'll work properly with it. And you don't leave that much of a mess when you're having to file a thing down, which we're about to do. Not too bad. I don't see any seam lines really that need to be addressed at this point. Hey, go for it. Welcome, man. You're early. That's great. This cat caught the beginning of the feed. Yeah, the fit on this thing leaves something to be desired, but you know, this is an older mold. Yeah, this is why I don't use super glue. If I use super glue, it would leave definitely something to be desired. You need the extreme gap filling of epoxy. Okay, so that's gonna fit on there, so that's okay. No real flash on this. Got 2 pods that go on the side. Okay. Wheels are pretty good. This one actually has a little bit less flash than the M8 looks like. Now the other thing is not only does it not have are these heavy pieces that you need to glue on to another heavy piece, they don't have like prongs or things for them to sit on. They're literally just sitting here next to it, which the problem that happens is that you've got to wait for the epoxy to set a little bit, otherwise it won't stay in place. So based on what we learned on the other one is, we're going to actually glue the back plate on first, and then we'll glue these sides onto this. And it should be easier to put it in there than the previous one. Okay, it's the front axle. Wheels look fine. I saw a picture of one of these that was done as Patton's little command vehicle. I didn't realize he had a little M20 command vehicle. I've seen him in his 3/4 ton command car, but didn't know that he had a command vehicle. I came across looking for stuff on the Stewarts. Montgomery had a command Honey as well, turretless Honey. Take these little parts off. Let's bring this back, close this up a little bit. Looks like there's a minimum of flash compared to the other one. It's a more recent casting or something. All right, let's get the little piece of cardboard that we've been using for the epoxy. This might actually be one that needs a floor as well. No, this one has a floor. It's the M8 howitzer motor carriage that does not have a floor at all. So we'll need to make something out of wood or styrene or something like that. I'm going to go ahead and get that ready as well. Should have remnant pieces of styrene here that fit that bill perfectly. Rather not use something like that, that's pretty useful. See if I've got something smaller. Oh, you know what's better than that? It doesn't need to be very thick. Mr. Jacques, welcome back. Key cards to hotels, and I forget to turn those back in, so we reuse them. I'm gonna go ahead and cut this thing out because this is one of those things that I'm gonna need to install on this after this is very, very, very sticky. Okay, let's made in El Salvador. Wow. I wish this was metric, but it's engineering scale. I really don't even know where I got this from. Oh, there it is. It's from a vendor at work. All right, so let's go ahead and use the most precise one, the 50 here. And this needs to be about just shy of 3 and about 5 long. This does not need to be super precise. Let's see, just shy of 3. What I said. Yep, just shy of 3. All right, so I'm gonna come over here. Okay. A little bit smaller than that. Good morning, Nordic. Man, you didn't go to bed. Uh-oh. Not a good sign. Let's just come across here about here. And I'll take this little rounded bit off. This stuff is hard to find in stores now. It used to be everywhere. The sheet styrene, you got to go to a very specific store to get that. It's available, but clear film on one side. We'll take that off. All right. That should fit in there just fine. I'm going to put it white side up. And there's going to be a little bit of a gap there, so we'll epoxy that as well. All right, so that's, as this thing's drying and not useful for anything else, we'll glue this thing on there. Because this is probably going to take at least 3 batches of mix, I would think. We'll save those parts. And put that back. Uh-oh. What'd I miss here? Let's see. Yourself and your crew survived the entire Pacific War. Ended up sinking 39 ships, 1 jam tin can. Sunk 2001 man, 1 2 Navy crosses. You know, that's the thing about submarine simulators. I don't want to kill the merchant shipping. I would always like, I want to hunt like battleships and shit like that. Sunk the destroyer Akikaze on the final patrol of the war, and sadly, in the real war, the Akikaze was sunk as well. Such are the fortunes of war. There's a game, I don't remember what it's called, but it's a World War I game. I think you can play a raider. You can play like the German surface raiders, like the cruisers and stuff that going out and hunted things down. It's a good looking game. It might be called something like the Kaiser's Pirates or something like that, or maybe I'm just thinking of a book by that name that I read. No wonder I can't find the epoxy. It's in the wrong place. Akikaze. I don't know what class that is right off the bat. Sounds like maybe a Shiratsu class or something. Yeah, I always like going after the warships. First of all, because they're all faster than a submarine. So there's that added challenge. And Minikaze, okay, so that's a little one. That's one of those from the 1920s. Yeah, the Japanese ship classes are kind of strange. You'll have they have an Akizuki and an Akatsuki, and an Akatsuki is a one class, and Akatsuki is something else, and one of them's really, really small, and the other one's really, really big. The AA destroyer those are really nice looking destroyers, but they only got 3.9-inch guns, so against surface they're not great, but they're good looking ships. And that stuff's important to you if you're building them. we're gonna have to wait for this to dry a little bit. That's the problem with this, is it's, I need like 5-second epoxy for this. Now, let's go ahead and get the other side ready too. Let's move these things out of the way. Shimakaze, that's that monster one that they had. They made one of 15 torpedo tubes or something like that. Not the torpedo cruisers. The torpedo cruisers, Kitakami and Oi, are have 40 torps. I'm talking about the big destroyer they made one of. Shimakaze, of course, it doesn't come out until sometime in 43, so it misses Guadalcanal completely. I2 is not easy to encounter one. It's all dice driven, so the narrative changes for each play, though. You'll be happy to know that you did survive the war as well. You're part of my crew. What are you building? Is that the Howitzer Sherman? No. This is the M20 armored car. That is incorrigible at times due to the lack of fit and finish. It's just sloppy. Sloppy Joe. That'd be a good name for a tank. Sloppy Joe. Got to check and make sure Sloppy Joe was invented by then. There's no point in naming something, that's not named. That wasn't invented yet. Yeah, we still got to let it sit more. Oh, that's unfortunate, but it's just part of life. Yeah, I was looking into stuff, and all the American tanks had gyro stabilizers except the, I'm sorry, technically it would be Euro stabilizers. Except the 105 mounted howitzers ones. They were not. Well, maybe I can glue this down since it's not so incorrigible while this stuff is hardening. Let's see if this will do it, or we got to add even more. Left goes on the left, right goes on the right. It has the piece etched on there. Yeah, thank you, I got some on me. Shit happens. Yeah, this is, I'm not a fan of white metal. And that came off? What a piece of crap. This is why I work on cardboard. And it's not needed for most of the stuff that I do, but sometimes it is. Man, what is this? What a mess. All right. All right, you mother. It's like gluing things with honey. Really? Come on, man. Well, like I said before, things don't always go according to plan here. And it's because this is literally just sitting on there. It doesn't have any prongs or anything. All right, this may shift on me. I'll be right back. Something I haven't managed to keep in here is roll paper towels. Didn't fall down, it's a miracle. You know, you're trying to glue heavy pieces on a surface that doesn't fit well on. And the fit on it's not good. Well, yeah. It's got to be a gigantic pain in the ass. It's worse to use super glue. Because what will happen is you get it in place and it already glues. And then you pop it off and then you can't glue it. Then you got to clean the glue off. And it's just a sloppy model. It's old school. It's like, no wonder this thing was sitting on the shelf. Take the metal 50mm command incision. Man, I thought you got up early to paint. I did, or to build. I get up at 5. I was just doing other stuff for about an hour before I got on here. Okay, I think we're in. I think we're in position. Yeah, I can't imagine doing this with super glue. I hate super glue. This has its problems, but super glue doesn't give at all. Yeah, see, here's a little vestige of stickiness. I don't want to bring that onto something else. There we go. I'm pretty sure that hand sanitizer won't pick up epoxy. And I can't use thinner because then it'll take all this shit off, so. I get up early to have coffee, which I didn't have any. I didn't want the taste of coffee today. More? Okay, and I got another thing to do, also like this. Speaking of pain in the ass, but it's sitting at another angle. The problem is, it's pitted sometimes. Now the good thing is you can adjust it after you're done with it. Oh, is that how it? No. So it does have that advantage. Super glue, you're stuck with it wherever it is. Like I said, if you want to change it, you have to take the super glue off, and maybe if you were working on some model like an MMS or something like that that was more precise, but these things are not very precise at all. These are old school metal stuff. I never liked the taste of coffee. That's why I never drink it. Fair enough. I actually encountered somebody last year. I don't remember who it is. They hated the smell of it. No, coffee smells great. Like if you open up like the coffee beans, that smells wonderful. Doesn't taste like that though. Yeah, when we go to prime all these, we'll prime all these at the same time. And nothing worse than priming like one thing. Fire everything up on the airbrush for one thing. There's no point in mixing a ton of it. Just gonna have to do it several times. Wouldn't that be funny if your legal name is Matt Varnish? But then you decide to be somebody who doesn't like to seal things? So you don't actually seal any of your work, but your name is Matt Varnish. Or you gloss coat everything. That was a thing. That's even before my time, where these old school people would take these 25mm figures and they would have this high gloss varnish on them. You still using your airbrush in the garage, or did you move it into the hobby room? It's never going to be in here. There's actually if you look in the garage, there's a window in there, and the guy had left a table that he made himself. It's bigger than this. It's probably 4 feet, maybe even taller than that. It's rough hewn, but he made it himself. He was a bit of a amateur carpenter, and it's underneath the window, which the window opens, so it's like perfect for, if I wanted to get a ventilation thing for the airbrush. Why doesn't this fit in here? Okay, I'm not recommending anybody buy these raffle things. The fit and finish on these are just sorry. But I want to varnish. I want to spray on that table, not on it, but at that height. But right now it's covered in stuff that from the move still. Stuff that we have to decide what we're going to do with it. I think it's mainly like pictures and stuff from the old house. There we go. Got that in there. Well, I don't want to pull that thing back out. So we'll probably apply that around there. I never use matte varnish too. Yeah. I used, when I was a kid doing the 1/2400 scale ships, I never sealed anything. I didn't know. There was no internet. We didn't get ideas from... How many ideas that you use now you've used because you were able to communicate with somebody in the same hobby on the internet? I got a lot of ideas from that. It's made me a better painter. Now, there's a lot of bad ideas out there too, but you're exposed to things, or you find out about things on the internet that are from people that are not in your immediate area that we didn't have access to in the 80s. Now, unless you picked up some kind of a magazine. And I always thought that those hobby magazines are overpriced because they have a lot of content that just doesn't apply to you. So you're paying a whole lot of money for stuff that's not in your area of interest. Like about 6 months ago, I was going to pick up one because it had I forget which one it was. It might have been, I don't remember what it's called. Something, the Soldiers and Strategy one. It's a decent magazine, but there's one article I'm interested in, and there's a whole bunch of stuff that's in periods that I don't do and don't plan on doing. But when I was doing, I didn't seal anything. And then when I did start to seal it, we did 2 coats of semi-gloss. Because we found that I actually liked a little bit of the shine on it. And then then I saw people do matte all the way, and I'm like, nah, the matte looks better. Yeah, but you don't know this stuff if you're not exposed to other people's ideas. Okay, that doesn't even fit on there. So I'm going to just attach it by way of the sides and just pray for rain. So, I mean, I think the internet has made us all better. These hobbies are extremely niche, and there may not be anybody in the same state that does the stuff you do. All right. Now the fun part. It's got to sit like that, along with the other one on the other side. And I'm not even going to attempt to even fool around with it yet until it's dried up a little bit, because it's still too. Although it may be just fine for this. And it goes from it's too wet to, oh shit, you better get it on there now. In a moment. This should be tacky enough now to, we'll just treat it like a hot glue gun. Put some of this goop right there and hope it holds. Now I always say that when you use paint and you're mixing on the palette, you end up like wasting 90% of it. You waste even more of it in epoxy. But it's just one of those things. You try not to be wasteful, but it's going to happen. Come on. Let's adjust it into place. I would have bought 2 more of these if they had them in stock, and I'm glad I didn't, because it's just not a very fun experience putting this thing together. It's not a very satisfying experience putting these together. The reason I don't matte varnish because they're never truly done, are they? That's true. Well, when you use airbrush, you go really thin. You can go over it. It doesn't really cover anything. Give up that scale just a few weeks ago. Don't have the space for miniature. The terrain downside is 15 millimeter. You cussing over here for me? It's not that bad. It's not that bad. I don't get frustrated with this hobby because I guess it just depends on your personality. I don't know. As long as you're making progress. If the progress is slow, it's all right. It's computer shit I can't deal with. You know, where all of a sudden you turn around and all of a sudden everything you've done is gone. You know? I was in a big fight with the freaking computer stuff at work. You use Excel a lot. And there's a new version of Excel, and I've been using Excel for, I'm gonna say 20 years, a long time. And there's this new version of Excel, the way I understand it, that unbeknownst to me, it changes where it saves shit. So instead of it being default where you open the folder from, it automatically wants you. And I understand there's a way to change it. We got to get with the IT nerd burglars to come in. There it is, invoking the nerd burglar to let us know, but it automatically wants to switch anything to, and I don't consider myself a computer illiterate person by any stretch of the imagination, but there's just some concepts that I don't use and I'm not interested in knowing about, just like people that do IT stuff, they don't know shit about epoxy and gluing things. We all can't be masters of everything. And the thing I absolutely hate is the fucking cloud. So you go in and we don't even have it at work. But it wants to save everything to the OneDrive or some shit like that. And it's not even used. So the next thing you know, I'd wake up and I'd go to work and I was trying to get everything done in the last couple days. And I go look for a file, and the file that I just did isn't there anywhere to be found. It's like not in a subdirectory. And you know, it took me a while to figure out that what the problem was that it was saving it somewhere else, and then it was disappearing. And that stuff I have zero patience for. That I go to cussing on. This, you know, whatever. You know, this isn't a big deal. I know that eventually it builds upon itself and will not get this thing knocked out. So the other problem with these heavy vehicles is that if this falls on the ground for whatever reason, it is so heavy it's going to crush itself and all the pieces will fall off of it, or many of them will, or get bent. The plastic ones just don't weigh enough to hurt themselves. So Tony, Century Box in Canada, largest hobby store. I also was shocked how big it was. I wasn't impressed with it until I went to the historical section. And it's not that it wasn't big, it was just a lot of things that just weren't there for you. It's like if you went to, you know, the world's largest women's clothing store. That's cool, but I don't wear women's clothes. Sorry to disappoint you. So it doesn't really matter to me. It didn't matter that they had everything under the sun Warhammer. I don't do Warhammer stuff. I don't do 28 millimeter anything. You know? So although it was cool, I wasn't impressed by it. When I saw historical stuff, and I was impressed. So yeah, it was like a time machine. It's like a time machine going back to another earlier age. Should make a list of the remaining 28 millimeter. I didn't know you had any 28 millimeter stuff. And see what Noble Knight offers me. Yeah, sure. Just clear the palette, man. Just get rid of it completely. Save the Bros and Badgers miniatures because those are too charming to get rid of. Yep. There's no point in having things you're gonna eventually have an epiphany. Hopefully, I did. Like, I'm never gonna use this stuff. I'm never gonna play whatever game. Let's get rid of it. And they made it real easy. Now, they made it real easy because they pay the shipping. So that's one variable you don't have to consider. Instead of like, man, this is a good deal. And then you're like, oh shit, it's going to cost me $14 to send this instead of $7. And like I said, I've dealt with them a couple times. They gave me a quote that they were going to give me X for it. And then they gave me significantly more when they received the stuff. Because they realized the stuff I had was in really good shape, or they felt bad, or whatever. Anyways, they did me right. So I really don't have anything bad to say about them. I wish the turnaround was a little faster. It takes them sometimes a while for them to give you a quote. But they're probably overwhelmed. That video they have of their warehouse is impressive. Really impressive, but okay, this ring. Let's get us a little... Man, I can't see this far away from me. There we go. There's a place in Florida, down in Miami. It was a distributor for us when I worked at the hobby store called Orange Blossom Hobbies down in Miami. That place was massive. But they mostly had train things, like, HO scale kind of stuff, but they had a lot of other things. What are the main reasons you don't do 28 millimeter? Oh yeah, crap ton of 28 millimeter stuff. Tend to only parry the burrows of batters as far as 20. I'm just not a fan of the scale because when I started doing this gaming, I didn't like the way the figures looked. I didn't like the way the figures looked at all in the early 90s, and they just didn't do any historicals. So I got into this other scale, and I just never, you know, I'm just never have an appeal for it. You know, I want to play an actual scale too. So if I go 28, now all of a sudden I'm even more zoomed in. You know, at that point, you might as well just do 1/35 scale. Is it cold up there? Not cold here. It's raining. Stoking the wood stove. Is that legal in the city? Happy New Year, Kevin. Don't let the authorities in the big city find out you got a wood stove. Might be against code or something like that. Hey, you guys finally put a stop to your houses blowing up there in the Northeast? That is some spooky shit. There's that one happened in Pennsylvania about 6 months ago, and then there's several other ones that have happened since then. And sometimes it's gas, sometimes it's somebody cooking meth, sometimes it's one guy that's some deviant that's hiding from the police that's, you know, hoarding thermite grenades or some shit like that. Some lunatic. We don't have our houses blow up in Florida. You don't have basements, right? So you can't stockpile a bunch of nasty stuff underneath your house for it to, go sky high. 25 degrees here with snow on the ground. Sounds good to me. Sign me up. No, I'm not going to come shovel your shit. I wonder if the garbage came in late yesterday. Really? You're going to be like this? You are a dick. You, sir, are a dick. I won't be buying another Raffam thing. Okay, now stay. All right. I love the tow hook on the Stewart. It is such a huge piece, there's no way that's coming off. I mean, it's massive. So these other little limp noodles. All right. We better not glue that on until this thing is very secure. Maybe don't pay attention to news. Honestly, those metal tanks are off-putting. Yep, they were a thing back then, but now it's like, Even when when I started getting back into the World War II stuff, and I had a bunch of things to fix, the MMS kits, which are really precise as far as these are concerned, they just were a pain in the ass. I think I'd rather just buy the plastic kits, not bother with 15 millimeter Command Decision metal tanks. I wish the 3D printing stuff was cheaper, shipping wise. I came really close to pulling the trigger on some 3D printed stuff, but I'm not going to get into 3D printing. That would be frustrating. This isn't frustrating. This just takes some time. But, having this print and then getting all excited you know, when you come home from work figuring it'd be printed, and then it's all like, and then you have to start over again, and it's, you know, 8 hours until, that's just, like I said, that's not good for my personality type. Something's going to get thrown across the room. So I'm not getting, I don't mind paying somebody else for 3D printing something, but oh, something I had not considered. A soul is this. Well, how is that possible? So I glued this piece to give it a false bottom, because otherwise you're seeing it all the way to the ground like the Flintstones, right? And there's this other little piece that's sitting on it that it's attached to it. Okay, so this is should be the same height as the two ends here. So in other words, there's these two ends that are already here for strengthening, and I glued this to the bottom of it to the same piece. So it's all the same height. And then when I put this turret ring, it sticks down a little bit. It actually is too tall. Now, how does that make any sense if it's all the same height? This shit's weird. All right, well, we'll run this turret ring across the sander or something like that and take a little bit of it off. Let's go ahead and do that now since we're not doing anything useful. Sander a file. Yeah, go plastic, young man, go plastic. These are only vehicles I've been looking for a long time. You'd think there'd be a lot of manufacturers that make like M8 armored cars, but okay, that's not bad. I think that's a little bit more, and we should be good. Just little mini challenges like that. It used to be frustrating as a kid if I didn't have all the tools and stuff, but I've collected this stuff over the years. I didn't have this, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. Okay. Can't fire up the vacuum cleaner, the girls are asleep. Although I gotta give them a wake-up call here in a few minutes. You have friends who have the printers and they've been buying them in resin. There you go, use them. All mine are in other states. The pandemic killed the friendships I did have at the local store since it moved and refused to go to the new location. When in doubt, sand it out. That's right. But I didn't have this stuff when I was first started off. This stuff's expensive. I'm not saying I'm made of money, but you can't buy those things when all you have in your pocket is the money for a model and whatever. You're not going to spend it on, what'd you buy today? I bought paints. What'd you paint with it? Oh, nothing. I don't have anything to paint with it. You make do. It'll end up being fine, but I wouldn't go out and buy one of these. That's for sure. I'm going to go ahead and wake the girls up now. I'll be right back in a moment. The key to model building is buy the tools over time. Yep. And then you amass a good collection of tools. Yep. That's it. And I mean, over time, like 35 years for me, you know, and I don't even have expensive tools, but you know, it just takes a while. This is one of those vehicles that's so ugly it's cute. And I'm not going to worry about a crew. I've got crew. Oh, you're wanting to stick to that epoxy still. Well, why would you stick to that? I put that stuff down there a long time ago. All right, well, if we're going to be like that, okay, what do we got left? We got the turret ring and stuff. On the M8, oh, this one didn't come with any instructions. On the howitzer motor carriage. Here is the turret for the M8 Scout car, not the M8 howitzer motor carriage. Okay. And it's complete. All right, we'll move it over there. This is the mount for the howitzer motor carriage. So this has got to be epoxied in place. You know, these things are going to look really good when they're done, though. I got a lot of confidence that they're going to come out in a way that I'm going to be happy with. All of these. Let's mix up another little batch. What is this, the fourth batch now? Well, we knew that going in. I'm not going to make a whole lot. You know, paint's the same way. The only reason I have this many is I sold all my 2400 scale ships and used it to buy Vallejo paint. So I went from, you know, having 4 Vallejo paints to 200. I just reinvested the monies. And have no regrets because the 2400 scale stuff just didn't look very good by today's standards. Hell, it took me how long to get a pretty good compressor set up for airbrushing? I'm glad I did. It was worth $100. Yep. You've been hoping to get into diecast car resurrection. Gonna start with spray cans. I'd still be using spray cans if Rust-Oleum hadn't had their way with Model Master and discontinued all their stuff. I was very happy with all the Model Master stuff. I don't change products generally because something better comes along. I usually change products because their QC just goes to hell. Okay, this thing is I'm going to put that like that, kind of at an angle. So I was going to say I've got crew members, but you know, I'm not so worried about putting them inside because they may or may not be inside. So I'm more interested in having dismounts. So when these guys have to bail out of this vehicle, you need a representation for them. Because as cool as it would look to have crews that are permanently in there, I don't want vehicles that are I don't want figures that are inside the vehicle, and then when they're dead, you got to mark that. Oh yeah, by the way, these guys aren't in there. It's just easier to not have anybody in there. I'll do it with a few tank commanders, just kind of give them a sense of interest. But we're gonna have to open this up. Yeah, I'm not a fan of white metal for this. Okay, that worked. Let's get some of this ready for support. Okay, we'll add the ammo box on later. This one. I'm not going to add the machine gun until the very end so I can get in there and paint. But I am going to add the little mount for it here. Let's just make sure that it fits in place. We don't need to trim any of it off. Looks like I do need to trim a little bit of it on there. No need to change what works. That's right. Unless you're looking to throw money at stuff. You're going to head out, enjoy your hobby time, catch you later streaming. Yep. Mr. Roger, welcome back. Main thing is don't have a time frame. I got to get these done by a certain time. Nope. I have too much of that at work. I don't need to bring that attitude into my hobby time. Yeah, this is miscast is what the problem is. by the time I get this where it needs to be, I'll have to mix another batch up. It's whatever. Shit happens. This is why I much prefer white plastic. Well, why'd you buy these? Because they were there. That's really the only reason I bought them. You know? It's only there. And it wasn't an impulse buy. It was in that store for 2 hours. But I know that these are hard to come by. Whereas I can pick up the Plastic Soldier Company stuff from many different vendors. Okay, that sits okay there. But this is glued. So let's go ahead and do the same thing again. Now these ran for like $15, $14.95 Canadian. So what's that, about 12 bucks? So they weren't too bad. And they're vehicles I want. I want these vehicles and the plans that I have. These open top vehicles work really well for skirmish games because they're not they're not invincible, they're not untouchable. Throw one grenade inside of this and it's bad for the vehicle crew. It's not like you have to have anti-tank weapons, specialized anti-tank weapons to take them out. So from a balance point, it's a good vehicle. I got stars for decals, so I don't want to paint everything else by hand. So I'm actually looking forward to doing that. I am going to glue this thing in there. Fuck it. Just fill that whole little hole with this stuff. I didn't think I needed to take this little bit off, but maybe I do. It's catching. Didn't look like it would be. Let's slide this joker all the way in. No, that's unfortunate. There we go. How'd that end up flexing down? Yeah, this is like a classroom full of kindergartners. You have to constantly adjust. We'll get it. I'll tell you what, let's just do it in 2 steps. We'll let this harden nicely, and then we'll come in with the other one in. Adjust that. Like the store video, I wish it was better quality, and I had to do it vertical. I don't like doing vertical videos, but it's either that or I'd have to pan up and down every time. I've never been, only small corner shop size where I live. In the Northeast. You live in the Northeast, nothing. I don't think I've ever been to a shop with that much selection. Once visited Brookhurst Hobbies. Yeah, Brookhurst in the day would have had a ton of stuff. I was a huge fan of Brookhurst Hobbies. Huge fan in the early 90s. I used to say that in the mid 90s, I used to say they would order the things before they would ship them to you before they got to you. So you give them an order on midday on Monday, and you had it by Thursday. But then it was like they never had anything in stock, and they just had issues. They had a lot of people working there that, depending on who you got on the phone, they were competent or not. Because I think that was still pre-internet. When I was ordering from them was before the internet, so you did call them up. Oh, we still have these the ammo boxes to put on. Let's not forget that. No good having a 50 caliber if there's no ammo for it. I don't know how that's going to glue. There's just not enough of a surface area there. Let's take some of this off. Yeah. modify this so that it... Yeah, Brooker's Hobbies used to have freaking everything. I ordered a lot of things from them back in the day. Oh, this is going to be a problem. I hadn't considered that. That gluing this thing down, I'm not going to have access to where this thing goes. Always challenges. There's always these little challenges. All right, when I push this thing through, let me hold this down while I do that. Watch your struggle so you don't have to. You know, there's no point in editing the video that shows that everything goes perfect. Because you watch it, like, let me see somebody working on something. Oh man, they didn't have any problems at all. I need to give this up. You know, you need to, like, when a model gives you trouble, spank it. Make sure it doesn't do it again. Things don't go according to plan. It's too much effort to edit all that crap anyways. Those small shops were just crammed. You couldn't find anything. Yeah, the thing about Century Box is everything was like almost dust free. It was amazing. I honestly wish what they had was armor fast stuff. I wish they carried some armor fast. I want to get a hold of an M10 that has a breech on it. I need about 4 M10s. And I don't want to have to build breeches on them. Kind of hard to build an M10 without a breech. It's like, it's kind of an integral part of how that looks. All right, so I need to set this in a way so when I put this ammo box in here, it's resting on something, because if it's not resting on something, it's not going to stay into place. I think I just need to reduce this in size significantly. Let's try like that. I'm doing this without glasses, so should be a lot easier to do. All right, how sticky is this bastard now? Let's try this now. I think I waited too long. All right. I mean, this glues really well once it sets. What's those costs like to work with? And are they clunky? Well, I don't know what you're saying. These cost about under 15 Canadian. But the problem is in plastic, they cost like $30. And you got to get them shipped to you. And you only get one. Like, that's not a very good value. So I put off getting these. But I've been wanting M8 for a while. I think what I may actually do is reduce the back of this, and then I can have it rest on this ring at the top of the turret. You know, it's like you're trying to have something that's attached in a very small area, and it's cantilevering over something else, and somehow it needs to stay attached and not fall off. Could be a bit of a challenge. How's this one hanging out? Well, that was a bigger area to work on. Damn it. There we go. Okay, that's not bad. Now if we could just stay right there. think the only thing I got left is, let's pull this thing off. I wanted to attach the... Come on. Let's use a milli putt for this. Get this out of the way. Wish I had dedication to stick to one subject. Yep, I have to. I won't get anything done. It's only after years of being frustrated by being all over the place. Look back at a lot of World War II completed now. Any secret to keeping in the zone of interest? Well, I mean, many years of... There's just so much World War II stuff that's interesting right now that I didn't really have that information of before. I just can't be into everything. And if I am, then I just don't have anything to show for it. So as much as I'd like to do, Gasland stuff as well, it's like you jump around, you don't have anything to show for it. It's even worse than that. You don't finish things. And because it's okay to have, one of these and one of that and one of the other thing. But if you have a bunch of stuff that you're working on at the same time, it just disappoints me. I have not always been this way. This is, honestly pretty recent. But I'm like, that's why I can't do DVA shit and this. My DVA was keeping me from doing World War II stuff. If I'm ever going to get World War II stuff, I've got to ditch DVA. And look, I did it for 18 freaking years. So... I picked this stuff up. They were selling this for $3.50. I'm like, okay, all right, I'll get this for $3.50. Okay, you're no longer in a container. Should be enough to fill up both of those gaps. But I haven't always been this way. Any little bit of water. Dirty water should work. If I don't limit myself to what I'm doing, I'm not going to have anything to show for it. So, doing this program with you guys is probably the biggest help for me, because it forces me to stay on here for a little bit of time. I can't just do this for 15 minutes and then just disconnect. Like, it was too much effort to get connected to begin with. So that's actually probably the most useful thing of anything else, is just working on stuff. Because ultimately, it doesn't really matter whether you get done with something or not. I'm just kind of doing this stuff for fun, so I don't really have a time frame that I got to get it done by. Let's see. If I do it from the top, let's do it from the bottom. Squish it up. That should be enough. I'm by no means an expert on using this stuff. I'm really new to use this actually. Mm-hmm. Yep. That should have squeezed through, and it did. And then we will work with this right here to get where we need it to be. But I can't go back to, doing 15 millimeter figures one week and then this the other. And I mean, look, I've stayed on World War II and I still haven't gotten around doing the infantry. And I have a fair number of them done, but they need to be refurbed. Their basing needs to be refurbed. So even with limiting myself, I'm still not getting as much done as I'd like to. That's going to end up looking pretty darn good. Marcus had a look at their range when I had a stint. The Japanese phase went with 1/72nd at Larry instead. So much nice pictures from the UK. Seems also interested in battle honors on terrain front. Yeah, UK is the land of toys. It's hard to find this scale here in the States. It isn't. I'm into it because when I got into this phase, which was in the early 90s, this was the scale to do everything in. If I started it now, I don't know if I'd do 15s. The thing is some 15s I don't think very highly of. I mean, a lot of as much as I like the Flames of War stuff, some of their vehicles they have rounded corners on things that should be sharp. So, they're some of their Panzer IIIs look funny too. Their turrets don't sit down, Stuff is hand sanitizer is a miracle. Good stuff. I don't remember how to package this thing. I didn't pay attention. Maybe I didn't have these. Maybe I didn't have these in these containers at all. I don't know. They should be in Ziploc bags. Keep the air from going in there. Because I don't have to spend another $3.50 on it. But I think that did the intended purpose pretty well. And these will end up looking really nice when I'm done with them, but it takes a little bit of effort. A little bit of effort and a whole lot of patience. But I'd much rather build Plastic Soldier Company stuff. These things are they're adorable. They really are. There's just no other way around it. And I really like the one I kit bashed more than the other ones. That's something. That way all three of them look different. check on the girls. We'll be right back in a second. Hey, you guys have some good weather, and it's all drizzly and shit out there. Nearly everything you need for the hobby is online. Would be nice if there was just one shop you could walk to and get it off the shelf. Well, so here's the advantages and the disadvantages. You have access to everything. Oh, really? You're gonna be falling asleep on the job? Back in the day, you'd walk into a store, you end up buying shit you didn't want. Okay, you're being a little dick now. All right, these shouldn't be here. That's the problem. Now it should be space for you. You'd end up going to a store and you would end up buying things that you didn't really want, or really wasn't really what you wanted to because it was there. And with online, you're like, I feel like you waste a lot less money, and you're getting the stuff that you really are looking for instead of just what they happen to have in the store. So there's that advantage. And but I'd rather walk in the store. But those days are over. They're never coming back. They're never coming back. You know, even if I lived in Calgary, that store had awesome stuff. But like they admitted, it said that the World War II section of stuff was just, he doesn't even know if it's the owner's pet project, and they don't sell any of it. So you better believe if I had bought everything, there wouldn't be anything left. They wouldn't reorder it. So it's kind of it's not always going to be that way. So those days are over, unfortunately. I was hoping there'd be some plastic kits. I would have picked up some plastic kits. Now, in my defense, I don't really need anything. I don't really need anything at all. So I didn't need to find something. And it took me 2 hours to make a decision what I was going to get. I didn't want to get something I wasn't going to do anything with it. The way I look at it is if I don't paint these at all, which I'm going to, but if I wasn't going to paint them, I still had a lot of fun putting them together, especially the Stewarts. I didn't think the Stewarts were going to be that much fun. What do I know? Stewarts for the win. I think these are in one bag is what it is. Let's do some maintenance here on the table. Get this stuff out of the way. And then we're going to be done for the morning. We need to let these things dry a little bit. And maybe, just maybe, we'll have some dry weather out there that we can spray in. Not that that really would keep me from doing it anyways. Let's move the colors back where they go. desk area starts getting a little bit out of control. Everything has a place. Yeah, so this came with an extra turret ring. How freaking strange. Or maybe this is the, maybe, no, that's not the turret ring for the, does the M8 have this thing on top of it? It may actually have that. Well, I can always change it up if I needed to. But it seemed like there's no instructions in this thing. So yeah, it would have had to be the one that the M8, but the howitzer motor carriage. But we'll hold on to that anyways. Never hurts to have some spare parts. But yeah, these old school things are definitely not for the not user friendly for sure. This stuff's really handy to have this because you can use it to support things, and in other words, that's actually not something really inexpensive, but for many years I didn't have it. Okay, that's pretty much it. We're basically cleaned up. We're going to use this up again. We don't need this little piece of cardboard. And we are good to go to hit the ground running on the painting. We do have this can go back, the T70 can go back, the Sherman can go back, and we do have the two JS2s that we stopped. We went all ahead stop on the Soviet trucks. I'm going to try to not put this stuff here on the not put the tufts and the grass on this area. That really makes kind of a big mess. Makes a bit of a crime scene. And I don't want all that stuff to get out of control. And the Opel Blitz. Blitzy. That's the old Airfix. 176 scale. Okay, so that's where we're at right now, folks. Thanks for stopping by. We're going to be up there going back to you. You probably saw the import tax. The shipping cost is the problem with everything else, not the exchange rate. That's just, you know. Okay, folks. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you guys tomorrow morning on the next one.